You ever set up what you thought was the perfect community tank? Where everything looks calm, everything feels balanced, and for a while, it actually gives you that feeling like, yeah, I finally figured this out. Today, we are looking at the 12 best community fish that actually get along. Fish that don't just survive together, but biologically stay out of each other's way. But here's the truth most people miss. Most fish don't suddenly stop working, they just stop fitting. Most fish don't wake up aggressive, and community tanks don't collapse overnight. When you first bring fish home, they're juveniles. They don't have real territory yet, no hierarchy, and no real pressure inside the tank. Everything feels easy. But remember, small tanks don't fail faster. Small mistakes just don't dilute. You're just looking at young fish, and that illusion is incredibly convincing. Technically, the store wasn't wrong. Those fish behave peacefully at that stage, but they grow. The looks fine stage. But as they grow, their behavior doesn't suddenly flip. It settles, it locks in. And that is when your tank starts shifting, even though visually nothing looks different. Everything still looks fine. And that is exactly why this stage is so dangerous. The water is perfectly clean. The fish are eating. The plants are growing. You are doing everything right. But under that surface, something else is quietly building in the background. Territory starts to matter. Movement starts to overlap. Fish start crossing into each other's space more often than they should. Aquariums don't fail because people are careless. They fail because people were never told how living systems actually work. And that is when you start seeing the symptoms: a torn fin here, one fish hiding behind the filter more than usual, another one suddenly chasing for no clear reason. Not because something suddenly broke, but because something quietly reached its biological limit. Nothing is wrong, and that's the exact problem. The single main cause: space map. This is where it quietly turns against you. To understand this, stop thinking about fish for a second and start thinking about space. Imagine your aquarium like an elevator. At the beginning, the elevator is empty. Everyone fits comfortably and moves freely. But as those same juvenile fish reach adulthood, they grow and their instincts mature. Now imagine that same elevator slowly filling up. They aren't turning evil. They are just running out of room to behave normally. This is social maturity space math. It's not about how many fish you have. It's about how much behavior that tank can actually handle before things start overlapping. Because once that overlap begins, it is no longer about aggression, it is about friction. If nothing looked wrong, would you even think to change anything? Probably not. But today, we are only putting fish in this elevator that know exactly how to stand perfectly still. The 12 fish layered analysis. Think of your tank in 3 layers: top, middle, and bottom. Not just visually, but behaviorally. Because when fish stay in their own zone, they don't compete. And when they don't compete, they don't create stress. The top layer. Surface dominators. Let's start with the top layer, the roof of the elevator. Number 1, the honey gourami. On paper, it is peaceful. But the real reason it works isn't because it is nice, it is because it avoids conflict entirely. When something invades its space, it doesn't escalate. Put it with fast, aggressive fish, and it won't fight back. It just slowly stops eating and fades out. That is how peaceful fish fail, not loudly, quietly. Add floating plants like salvinia or frogbit. The hanging roots provide the vertical cover they need to feel bold enough to swim in the open. Number 2. The marbled hatchet fish. Their entire biology keeps them locked to that top layer. Their upturned mouths are designed for surface tension hunting. They have zero interest in the middle water column, which means they do not register bottom-dwelling fish as competition at all. Red flag. They are world-class jumpers. An open lid is a guaranteed loss. Number 3. The clown killifish. A micropredator that operates even higher, literally locked to the top millimeter of the water column. They take up almost zero physical space in our elevator. Number 4. Endler's live bearers. They are smaller, tighter, and significantly less frantic than standard guppies. They occupy the upper mid-levels without the exhausting, chaotic chasing behavior. If a fish smaller than your pinky has ever bullied your entire tank, you're in the right place. We troubleshoot tanks and laugh through the chaos together. Hit subscribe. The middle layer, the schooling core. Now the middle. And this is where most tanks start breaking, because this is where most fish exist. Number 5. The rummy nose tetra. If precision had fins, it'd look like a rummy nose tetra. They use visual cues from their red noses to maintain exact distance from each other automatically. That behavior removes conflict before it even starts. And here is the key insight. If they stop schooling, that is not aggression, that is stress. Red flag. The red nose is your tank's check engine light. If the color fades, your water quality is slipping. Number 6. The Harlequin Rasbora. These are the golden retrievers of the fish world. Friendly, loyal, and never start drama. Their peaceful nature is directly tied to their biological flexibility across different pH ranges. Number 7. The Ember Tetra. They are incredibly small, low-pressure fish with an incredibly low bioload. They are the ultimate space savers. Number 8. The Celestial Pearl Danio. A darting, highly active fish that prefers to weave through dense plants. But the red flag here is their extreme shyness. You have to break their fear with numbers. The bottom layer, the cleanup crew. Let's start with the invisible crew, the bottom layer. This is where real, lasting stability actually comes from. Number 9. The Panda Corridoras. The adorable janitors of the tank. They completely lack the aggression gene. Their barbels are strictly sensory tools for scanning the substrate. One cory is stressed, a full group of cories is highly stable. Red flag. Sharp gravel will erode their barbels. Always use a soft sand substrate. Number 10. The Coolie Loach. The night shift workers. They don't use territory in the traditional sense, they move through it. Their slender, eel-like bodies allow them to bypass territorial lines completely. No one sees them as a threat. Number 11. The Autosynclus. The diatom dietitian. Physically, their specialized sucker mouths are designed for scraping biofilm, not flesh. They cannot physically harm another fish even if they tried. Number 12. The Amano shrimp. The silent operator. They don't just coexist. They complement the system, working alongside other species to maintain balance. While autos eat the soft film, Amanos use their tiny claws to tear away structural hair algae. Delayed breakdown and relief. By the time you notice it, the damage is already done. When a community tank fails, it is usually a slow burn. This happens because the social space math finally collapsed. So when you step back and look at all of this together, you realize something most beginner guides never explain clearly. It is not about finding peaceful fish. It is about building a system where fish don't need to interact in the first place. And before we finish, let's clear up two massive myths that cause these failures. Myth number 1. Small fish are peaceful by default. Size means nothing. Some of the most aggressive patterns in nature come from small competitive foragers. Myth number 2. A bigger tank automatically fixes most problems. More water feels like more safety, but a large tank with bad habits fails the same way a small tank does. It just fails more slowly. If your previous tank turned into a battleground, it wasn't your fault. You relied on labels that only apply to juvenile fish. You didn't know the elevator was getting crowded. The problem was never the fish, it was the system. One last rule: add your shy fish first. Let them settle. Then add your schooling fish, and always add your dominant fish last. Wrong order creates chaos, right order creates stability. So now I'm curious, what's one peaceful fish you added that absolutely did not stay peaceful? Drop it in the comments. We've solved the social math, but if your water isn't clear, the elevator still crashes. We are fixing cloudy water permanently in the next video. See you there. Until next time, keep your tanks balanced, your glass spotless, and your curiosity flowing.